Madam Speaker. I rise today to talk about the young people whose futures are impacted by our Congress's failure to find a path forward with regard to the DREAM Act or some way of determining what they should do, what they should be, these stateless individuals, these young people, these children of our nation. The DREAM Act is truly one of the most, if not the most important piece of legislation that we've discussed in the floor of the House, certainly for the individuals involved. It means everything to hundreds of thousands of de facto Americans. To them and to all of us, it is extremely important. We have a choice between forcing a brain drain from our country or retaining the best and brightest to contribute to our economy and make our economy stronger and our nation more prosperous. I'll discuss the moral, economic, educational, and security reasons while this Congress failed to act on the DREAM Act. It remains an issue that we simply must address with regards to these young people and cannot ignore. I also want to pose two questions. One is, what would we ask of these young people? What do we want them to do? And the second, what action would they undertake that is best for us and our country? What should we be asking them to do for us? First of all, what we're talking about here are young people who grew up in this country, who were brought here by parents who were illegal immigrants when they were 2 years old, when they were 6 years old, but made no choice to ever violate our laws and grew up in this country as any other American does. The young people that we're talking about are the children that any parent would be proud of, our classmates in our schools, brothers and sisters of native-born Americans, kids who stayed in school and graduated, who work hard, who stay out of trouble, who serve in our military. They're the children of our great nation. And we in our country should be proud. Not proud of the broken and dysfunctional immigration system and lack of enforcement that put them in this situation. Not proud of their parents' violation of our immigration laws, no matter how out of touch with reality those laws may be. Certainly not proud of the indignities, discrimination, and fear that these young Americans have faced at every turn, but proud of how these young Americans have overcome adversity and demonstrated American exceptionalism. Their pluck, their ingenuity, their ambition, their drive, their creativity in pursuit of, as our Declaration of Independence puts it, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These young people embody the very best of our American values, and we should be proud to call them our countrymen. I was touched, Madam Speaker, by the great risk that many of these young people took, putting themselves out there, allowing their names to appear in newspapers, their faces to appear in television, putting their futures at risk, simply to tell us the story that they know we would understand, that they're here and they are American. This is a great nation and will be stronger still, greater still, with the full participation of these young de facto Americans, each with the opportunity to go as far in life as their ambitions and ability takes them. I want to talk about a few of these young people today. Prior to our successful passage of the DREAM Act out of the House, unfortunately later it died in the Senate, I talked on the phone to several of the young people in my district, my constituents, that would be directly impacted. This debate is really about young women like Zendi. Zendi was brought to the United States when she was 4 years old from Zacatecas, Mexico. Zendi grew up in the United States and didn't even know that her parents had taken her illegally until she was 9 years old, when one of her friends was flying to Montana and their family invited her, but her parents told her she couldn't go because she didn't have papers. Zendi went to prom senior year like other high schoolers. It was really cool, she said. Finally, my mom let me, and I wanted to look pretty for prom. I didn't have a date, so me and my friends went together. Now, Zendi has a passion for law enforcement. As she puts it, quote, I want to help stop the drug cartels. Zendi, who's currently enrolled at the Community College of Denver, wants to be a DEA agent. Our decision in Congress will determine if she engages in law enforcement to protect our laws or is pursued by law enforcement in violation of our laws. We will create either an agent of public safety, or we will criminalize a young woman because of actions that were not her own. The question will face us and the next Congress. Will we allow Zendi to become someone who protects us, or someone who we must spend money criminalizing and hunting? Which benefits America more? Zendi said, "I want to be in law enforcement and doing what I want to do in my life." Madam Speaker, we want Zendi as an American. This debate is about Claudia. Claudia is 21 years old and is a third-year college student at the University of New Mexico. She attends college in New Mexico because, unfortunately and shamefully, my own home state of Colorado doesn't offer in-state tuition to residents who've lived there 10 years, 15 years. Claudia was in the States when she was 7 years old. In high school, she was vice president of the Latino Youth Leadership Club and engaged in hundreds of hours of community service tutoring younger kids. Claudia enjoyed tutoring younger children and wants to be an early childhood education teacher, teaching preschool and kindergarten. She has no immediate family in Guadalajara, Mexico, where her family took her from. She was brought up here and she doesn't have any memories of her old country. She's a role model for her 11-year-old sister. She said, "It's sad that we're looked upon differently than other people, even though we've been here long enough to know everything. This law would help me be near my family." Claudia, when this Congress manages to pass the DREAM Act and immigration reform, would likely transfer the University of Colorado closer to her family. This poses the question for us: put yourself in that situation. What would we do? What's the right thing to do? Madam Speaker, we want Claudia as an American. This debate is about Luis. Luis was brought to the United States by his parents when he was 10 years old in 2001. I talked to him on the phone last week. He grew up as American as anybody else. He was active in the French club and was on the soccer team at Skyline High School. He was accepted into the University of Northern Colorado, but couldn't attend because of his lack of status. He wants to be a psychiatrist, but he's not in school because of immigration status. He was accepted to the University of Colorado, assigned to a dorm, went to classes for the first day, went up there and registered, but wasn't able to attend because of out-of-state tuition. Luis said, "There's never a difference between me and my peers." Luis also seems to have a potential career ahead of him, perhaps as a pundit or in public service, or even perhaps as a, God forbid, lobbyist, because the way he put it to me is in language that would translate to members of this chamber. Luis said, with understanding far beyond the average for his age of 19, he said, "Many of the Republicans are looking into the money side of things. What I would tell them is that they should look at us not as a burden, but as someone who will brighten their future. We are here, and we're not going to go anywhere, and we're going to make this country better, create jobs, and make the economy better." And I would ask any of my colleagues, particularly those in this chamber or the other chamber, that have not yet been supporters of the DREAM Act, why are they against making our country better, creating jobs, and making the economy better? Or is there somehow a disconnect and they don't believe that Luis as a psychologist versus Luis as a worker in the underground economy would make our economy better, create jobs, and prosperity for America? Luis said, "America is the place where you can make things happen." Madam Speaker, we want Luis as an American. This debate is about Angel. Angel is a senior in high school, currently in my district in Colorado. His parents brought him from Zacatecas, Mexico when he was 6 years old. In high school, he's very active and serves on the student council and the theater club. He won an essay contest a couple years ago and got a trip to New York City, where he told me how excited he was to meet members of the cast of Wicked. The 4 days he spent in New York City helped show Angel a keen interest in the arts, and he wants to go to college for the performing arts. He just turned 19 years old and serves as a role model for his brother, who's in the same situation and is 14 years old and was brought here when he was 1 year old. Angel has no memories of any other country, and he's never been to Mexico. Madam Speaker, we want Angel as an American. This debate is about Michelle, a constituent from my district I talked to on the phone last week. Michelle was brought to the United States when she was 7 years old. Her little sister had a skin disease caused by pollution in Mexico City.